welcome back. So we have a great interview set up today, and this is Inside Look, South Jersey Girls Basketball. And today I'm really excited. We have a coach. His name is Bup Robinson. I don't know, man. I just love the name, and right there it tells you we're going to have a great interview. But he's the head coach of Kingsway, the girls side. And I'll tell you what, man, this guy's got a lot of great stories, and we're just going to roll with it and have some fun. So I'm going to ask you about this Bup. So you got to help us out on this. So how'd you get this nickname Bup, or why are they calling you Bup?
Yeah, so the quick story is, come from a big family. In my family, everybody has nicknames. My sister's name is Sierra. We call her Siva. My other sister's name is Shaquai. We call her Beatty. And Bup was my nickname given to me by one of my uncles growing up. And it was a family thing until my mom came on a field trip with me one time in about second or third grade. And she was calling me Bup, and next thing you know, the whole town was calling me Bup. And that's been it, ever since. I come from a small town, Salem, New Jersey, down in the southwestern part of the state. It's traveled with me everywhere I go. So, young Bup or Coach Bup, Bup is, Bup Robinson.
I love it, man. That's awesome. So let's talk about, you said you grew up in Salem. Let's talk about your family and, maybe sports growing up. So tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so I'm one of five, the oldest, only boy in the family. My mom was one of 8, dad was one of 5, so came from, big families on both sides. My grandfather, role model, and mentor, he was a pastor locally, so grew up, went to church, grew up playing sports. My dad's side was the football side. He played at Dell State. My mom's side was the basketball side. She had a brother that went and played at Rutgers and Coppin basketball. Another uncle went and was the high jump state champ, went up to Seton Hall, Big East champ. So athletics, big part of the family. And the expectation of that was just something that I, followed in. I got to about 6'1" in 8th grade. I was like 6'1", 189 in 8th grade. Then I stopped growing up and started growing out. So, had to leave the hoop dream, along the way and seeing that my calling was the football side. And fortunately was able to take that and travel to the University of Oklahoma to continue my education and play football on a scholarship there. Class of 05 at Salem. Yep.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So you graduated from Salem, you go to Oklahoma. And I have to ask you, so if you can think back to your recruiting, and all the situations and all these different, opportunities, what made you pick Oklahoma?
Man, that's a great question. There were some places that I went to. I had really great visits to Ohio State. Really enjoyed the time out there. That place is massive, though. Yeah. Had a really awesome trip to Georgia and really loved Coach Rick, who was the head coach down there. And if I went with where my heart wanted to go, it would have been Georgia. I took a trip out to Oklahoma, and it was a little smaller than Ohio State, still a big campus. And it had a little edge in terms of that national prominence and ability to get to the big game and play in the big game. And coming from Salem, one of my big things was, one, go to the biggest, best school that I would, one, have an opportunity to chase my dream of going to the NFL. And 2, I wanted to win a national championship. And, they had just went to back-to-back championships. You got Adrian Peterson there, who was, a freshman finalist for the Heisman. They had a #1 quarterback in Sam Bradford, and they were known for great defenders, especially linebackers between, Rocky Kalmus, Torrance Marshall, Rufus Alexander, who was there when I went there. They were Teddy Lehman. I could, keep going. Lance Mitchell was a big middle. There's a place you want to go play linebacker. It was at Oklahoma for Coach Venables, who's still doing awesome now that, even over at Clemson. So it was the perfect fit and mix. And I loved it. Really enjoyed my time there. Wouldn't be who I am today without that experience.
So when you originally went to college, what was your program of study? What did you want to study when you were there?
Yeah, so when I originally went in, I wanted to, studying journalism and mass communications. I wanted to be doing what we're doing right now.
Well, come on, man. You need a partner. Let's go.
Exactly. I know. So once I got there, it was tough because our school and some of the classes that you needed to take were right smack dab in the middle of our practice times, and I had to make a tough decision in terms of am I missing practice or am I staying at practice and finding a different major. And I was super fortunate early on to have some awesome professors who really lit a fire or kind of enlightened me, in a sense of just opening my eyes, allowing me to become really introspective. And I actually found two majors that fit me, that were awesome for my personal growth and development, and that I've also used, which have helped me become a really great coach, which were I double majored in Africa and African American studies and religious studies while I was there. So, even though I didn't get to do what I originally planned, which was make it to the NFL and become a journalist. Got to study in two awesome programs, and now I'm in education and coaching, where I feel like I'm making a mark and helping out, serve and improve the lives of our future.
Yeah, I find it interesting that you went after the religious studies. Now, how much of that was influenced by your family being pretty involved with the church, growing up as a child? Like, did that play a big role, or?
Oh, that was huge. That was huge. So I grew up, denominationally, what you would call Pentecostal. But
Okay.
I was always very inquisitive, and one of the things I always wondered was why there were so many different churches with so many different names.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a question that I ever quite got the answer to till I got to college, and I picked up religious studies. And along that road, I learned so much about my own faith and religious traditions. But I also learned how interconnected many of the other faith and religious traditions are, whether it be similar stories or different versions of the same story, just according to who's telling the story. And it was really awesome and insightful. And I had a lot of growth from being able to, learn some of those lessons.
Yeah, I think honestly, the two majors that you took, to me, I think it gives you a better perspective of the world. I think
There
that you
you
can
go.
your own culture, and I think that's the one challenge that I'm seeing right now is we're proud of where we come from, we're proud of who we are, and that's totally fine. But you also have to respect other people, where and you have all these different religions, and they have different beliefs, and I think we have to learn how to just appreciate our own, but also respect that they're not going to believe the same thing as you. But in the
Yes,
scheme of things, we have to figure out there's a place where we got to come to the middle, and we gotta meet each other. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
but you know what I mean? Like, hey, let's just respect. I respect you, respect me. We're good.
Coexisting in tolerance, man. Some of the greatest civilizations have been able to be that because they allowed people the freedom of expression, and people were tolerant of one another. We don't have to believe the same thing to agree that we're all human. We all have certain rights and certain dignities, and you can live your life, and I can live my life in our own separate ways without infringing upon each other. And we can even have love amongst each other because we're all human beings. And that's, those are lessons that, I learned, and hopefully I'm giving to our girls on our basketball team now, but even to, my students and just, people that I interact with, no matter where we are.
Yeah, that's great. So here you are. You have these two majors. You graduate from school. You come home. So what's the next step in your life there at that point?
Yes, that is the big question. At 20, I believe I was 22. 22, recent college graduate, had to transition from having one goal to trying to figure out what's next. What originally brought me back home was my firstborn. Had a high school sweetheart story. It held on throughout our college days, being miles apart. Then I come back home and I'm trying to figure life out. And my first couple jobs, were helping professions. I found myself at a place called Rancho, which was a behavior modification home for young boys, as well as Faith Farm, which was a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center for men. So got involved in helping professions, about 2.5 years between those places, went back to school for my master's in human services. And it was around that time that I found myself at Clayton, becoming a youth specialist. I was running an after school program, and doing some stuff, life coaching, life skill stuff with the high school there, youth program with the elementary school. And that's kind of where I got into the education realm, the coaching realm. And I've been, finding my way along the way ever since then.
That's great. It's funny how, life takes you all the way out to Oklahoma and then takes you back home and kind of like gets you to, reinvent yourself and you find your way. And I mean, it
Yes.
sounds like you've been enjoying success and enjoying the ride along the way, which is really fantastic,
Yes.
So, all right. So here you are. All right. You're back home and then you're coaching. So how did you get started with coaching?
Yeah, so my 7th and 8th grade middle school years, we had a flag football program ran by a man by the name of Marvin Tucker. And this gentleman was the football coach at Clayton when I started working there. So after working there for a few months, the next football season comes up, and he, knew and heard I was around the building. Obviously, having played college ball, and anybody who coaches know that finding good, qualified, and assistants who know some things and have played the game, is not an easy thing. So we got to talking, and because of that investment that he made in us back when I was in middle school. I felt, honored to return that by joining his football staff. So I got involved with football first, obviously, with my background. That took me back home to Salem the next year, coaching with Coach Dennis Thomas, who's an awesome guy. While I was in Salem coaching football, I coached our 8th grade basketball team. We won the championship. It was that year, as a sophomore, I got to coach the great Jonathan Taylor. Salem's, known as, the home of Jonathan Taylor these days. But was fortunate enough to see that talent and coach him as a sophomore. Coached our 8th grade basketball team, who we won the championship that year, which was awesome. And this is just kind of going on my coaching path. I followed Coach Thomas to Millville after that season we did in Salem. We did 2 years of football there, which was awesome. Won the state championship our second year. Shout out to Coach Thomas for giving me the opportunity. And along that same time, I started coaching boys basketball at Kingsway as the assistant and JV coach. 2 years of Millville football. My second year at Millville, I was the boys basketball coach at Kingsway, assistant coach. And then after my second year at Millville, I got the head coach at Washington Township. So I became the head football coach at Washington Township for a year. That was an experience. Talk about an opportunity to really grow, to stretch myself, to learn some, awesome life lessons, to expand my network. It was great. Definitely some challenges, but again, one of those experiences that I'm super grateful and super appreciative for, because I'm not the coach, I'm not the man, I'm not the person I am today without that experience. Even to the point of, our last game this year is versus Washington Township, because I still got AD Murphy's phone number still in the phone. And I had a chance to reach out, and we got a game scheduled with them to end the year next Saturday. But did a year there. Things didn't go quite the way I was hopeful for. And then got the job at Kingsway to teach at Kingsway. Okay. So on my second season of basketball, after a year of coaching football at Washington Township, I got a teaching job at Kingsway. The next year, the girls' basketball position opened up. They had a stellar point guard and had won some, games and had always been a pretty strong program. I seen an opportunity to again grow myself and develop as a coach. And I have a little girl. So I said, you know what? One day she's going to be a high school, young lady. She's going to be a high school teenager. I better start getting my practice now, And maybe one day she'll even, come out and be playing. And I may have that privilege or fortune to coach her. But, the experience to test myself as a head coach, to be with the young ladies. I seen a challenge, and they had a really good team. And, I was blessed with the opportunity to get the job. And 3 years later, here we are.
Wow, that's fantastic. So it sounds like, you went a lot of places, but I think you got into a good landing spot. And you said you've been coaching for about 3 years now. Is that right?
Yes, I've been the head coach of the girls for 3 years. I was with the boys for 2 seasons as an assistant before then. Yep.
All right. So are you still doing the football and all that now, or?
So I took a break after Township. I took a break from football for 2 years from head coaching and being
Right.
involved at the high school level. I've been fortunate enough to coach with USA football,
Okay.
which is a national team. And you talk about just a godsend. USA football. I've coached at the Pro Bowl. I've coached at AT&T Stadium twice. I coached internationally in Mexico City. I was in Harbin, China, coaching with USA football. Like, football has taken a kid from very humble beginnings, from a small town to places that I never would have been on my own, or may have been able to afford to go. So very fortunate. So did that, took a break from the high school scene. And then this past fall, after consultation with my 11-year-old, I coached his junior youth team. So that brought me back out, but I haven't been on the high school sideline since my Washington Township.
Oh man, you're opening up this question. How difficult or challenging is it to coach your own kid?
Woo! So
Man.
the honest question is what I've always said, and I tell this to my staff because I'm fortunate to have two really great assistants. Their daughters also play on our team. But I say parents who are coaches typically fall into two categories. One, you get the daddy ball, their coach is kind of getting some, favoritism or some, extra breaks or getting a little snoozing over. Or two, you being a coach's kid is the worst possible place you could be on a team. And I fall in the latter. So I've gotten many screamings at the games. I get some talking tos at home. But fortunately, from the football side, I had the opportunity to coach my son wrestling a couple of years, as I did that too, youth wrestling coach. And I've learned to try to pick my spots. I've learned to try to focus on, some of the other kids and utilize my assistants, in that degree. But sometimes he got to feel the wrath of Coach Dad too. But we had an awesome year, and he learned and grew, and he took it all in stride. So I'm proud of him. I'm proud of my boy.
I mean, I'm not saying that I was a professional coach or nothing like that, but I coached kids growing up, and I'll tell you, it is probably one of the most challenging things because anytime you correct your kid, and it could be something simple, now daddy doesn't like me or daddy's mad at me.
Yeah.
When you go home, you're going to tell mom, and now I'm in trouble because I said something to the kids. And I'm like, I told them they have to do this a little bit better. And all of a sudden they're mad,
Yeah. It's not an easy place. It's not an easy place. And it's very hard to toe that line, man. So kudos to anybody who's ever done it and done it successfully. I'm learning as I go and hopefully getting better along the way.
Yeah, well, you're smart to just let the assistants handle it. That's what we used to do. I used to coach with this one guy, and we made a deal. Anytime his daughter needed talking to, he would tell me, and I would talk to his daughter. Talking to, I tell him, like, hey, can you tell her this? Okay, fine. So we
That's
had to.
what one of my assistants has done this year.
Easier, man. That's what I'm saying. You gotta deal with it. You gotta divvy it up.
Yeah, he looks over at me, Coach. You see that? Can you? I got you. And then I make sure the message gets through. But it's teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, man. So what do you enjoy the most about coaching?
The biggest thing, and it's what a lot of people, miss when you get out of athletics, is just that camaraderie, that feeling of being a part of a team, of being something bigger than yourself, having those days where you working your behind off, but also having those days where you get to see the fruit of that labor and share the joys of experience. And just the camaraderie of being on a team. It's an incredible feeling. And it's just the best thing. It's very hard to, mimic or emulate that in society otherwise, where you're a part of something, you have a goal and you have an objective, you go out and have a contest, and you win or you lose. You either were good enough or you weren't, and then you go back and try to do it again, or, figure out ways to be better. And there's a champion. And, there's a lot of things we can say about, the society and how we've taken different turns philosophically. But being a part of athletics, there's winners, there's losers, there's work, there's progress, there's teamwork, there's individual accomplishments, there's overcoming adversity, there's bringing people together from different backgrounds, different experiences, and finding out how to put that puzzle together to get the most out of them. And then at the end, you know, having a year or having multiple years or having experiences that you'll remember and cherish for a lifetime, you know, and no matter what you're coaching or who you're coaching, if you're doing it the right way, you're growing people and you're growing yourself and being a part of something special.
Yeah, that's great. So what tell us a little bit about your coaching philosophy. So what do you really focus on?
Yeah, so I'm big on the mental and the growth component of coaching. And when I say that, there's an acronym or a metaphor that I used for football that I've carried over to basketball as well. And it's having an EAT mentality, you know, effort, attitude, and toughness. You know, if you are the hardest working team on the court in any given day, if you keep a positive attitude and keep your, you know, attitude focused on how I can best help my team and what do we need to do as a team to be better. And if you are tough, both mentally and physically, because I'm gonna prepare you physically to be tough enough by what we do in practice. You better believe that. But then that mental toughness of realizing you're not going to get every call. You're not going to make the same shots every night like you wish to. Some nights you're going to have to get on the floor and those legs are going to be tired and you're going to get bumped and bruised, or, you know, things aren't always going to go your way. But being able to make sure that no matter the situation, your effort is still, you know, at its highest and your attitude is on positive, you know, you'll find yourself as a team and as an individual being better and achieving more than maybe even more talented people around you. And then there's always the skills and drills that you teach. But, you know, those three things there are kind of where my focus starts in building that foundation. And then we look to try to figure out what kind of team we have and how to best utilize those talents for that particular year.
Wow. All right. So then why don't you describe your coaching style? So, like, you know, there's some people that, you know, they sit on the sidelines and they're quiet. There's some people that pace up and down the sidelines. There's some people that bark. There's some people that, you know what I mean, will give the referees a little bit of something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, what kind of coach are you? Like, what's your style?
I would imagine anybody watching this or I hope anybody watching this feels my energy. But, you know, coaching wise, I am aggressive. I am assertive. I like to be a good communicator. I like to be boisterous. I want my girls to feel my energy and be inspired and motivated by that, to pass that on to everybody. And it just becomes a wave. I can't do that by being silent. I tell my girls we're our best team when we're communicating. And how do I, you know, make sure that we're doing that? By being the example of communicating, you know. And I've learned how to tailor that energy, tailor that aggression, tailor that assertiveness more so with coaching, you know, young ladies over the 3 years that I've done it, because it is different, you know, coaching a team of football guys, even versus a team of basketball guys, which both of those are different than a team of high school young ladies. And I'm proud at some of the growth that we've had this year, is, you know, even personally, and being able to convey that message and convey that aggressiveness to our girls, and them being able to be receptive and receive it, and that translate to success for us on the court.
All right. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit, just in that, you know, Kingsway is down in the south of New Jersey. So, you know, we're not really too familiar with that area. So earlier you and I talked about like what Kingsway was before in the history of the school, not the program, but the school itself. Can you tell us a little bit about what Kingsway was when it first started?
Yes. So Kingsway is one of those original Tri-County schools. Tri-County being Salem, Gloucester, and Camden County. Kingsway was first started in 1963, became a regional high school. Before then, you have, I believe it was Swedesboro High. My grandfather has told me stories about playing at what is now our sixth grade school, which was once the high school, in the rock field out back. So they used to play football games and there'd be rocks in the field coming out. But Swedesboro over the years was a rural farming community, a lot of farms, a lot of tough kids. And they've grown from having, you know, a relatively smaller population, being a Group 2 school, to over the last 10 to 15 years being Group 4, Group 5. We've seen great boom in population. Our school and the building itself has grown tremendously. And we're kind of what you would call, I guess, a newer kid on the block to some of the traditional Group 4s and Group 5 schools that you have with your Cherokees and Lenape's and Washington Townships. But we've always been tough. We've always played some great ball, or just across the gamut. A lot of our athletic programs being really tough. And, you know, we're still in that transition of going from old Tri-County smaller school to newer kid on the block, Group 4, Group 5. But we've had some opportunities to play in some big games. I know even with our girls, even over the last 3 years. And I think we're building, you know, a pretty good resume, or building a pretty good brand of being a group that's going to come in and give you everything we got. And we're looking forward to having our name up along the elites.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a great goal. So for anybody listening, Coach Bupp talked about Group 4, Group 5. So just so they don't get confused, Group 5 refers to football.
Football, yes.
So, but Group 4 is the biggest for basketball. So they went from like a school with about 1,000 kids to a school that's closer to probably 2,000. So basically, the school has probably grown to almost double in enrollment since everybody really is going down south. I mean, everybody from New York is moving towards Central Jersey. Central Jersey is moving down towards South Jersey. I mean, we're in Marlton, Cherry Hill area. I consider this South Jersey, but you're even more south than us, probably by about 35, 40 minutes. So you're almost to Delaware. How far are you from Delaware?
We are 20 minutes from the Delaware Memorial Bridge. Actually, more like 15, honestly, because we're next to 295. So we're in that. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I have friends from that Cherry Hill area who used to talk about Delaware, and they look at you like you're talking about aliens. Whereas being from here, you could go to Delaware in 15 minutes. I'm 20, 25 minutes from, you know, Philadelphia. And so you got both ways. And yeah, you hit it. You know, I know many people who moved from the Cherry Hill area, you know, a little, you know, further south and wind up in Swedesboro. And, you know, we're really growing, and I'm happy, and I consider myself fortunate to be a part of the district, to be a part of the growth, be a part of the transition, and being a part of, you know, Kingsway moving into, you know, what's been a new era and an exciting new era.
Yeah, this is really great. So let's talk about maybe how your season went last year, and maybe what your goals and expectations were. And the reason why I do that is because, you know, obviously we're going to get to it in a minute. Like, this year is just totally different.
Yeah.
So we want a glimpse of what it looks like in a normal year, and then we want to get an idea of how you're dealing with, you know, the COVID next, and then we'll get towards the end. So what are things like last year? Like, what were you thinking about going into the season?
Yeah, so I'll even go back to our very first year, just for perspective. So my very first year, we were fortunate. That year when we got started, we won. Give me 1 second. I was prepared, and then it always escapes me. But I want to be correct. So that first year we played, we won 23 games, which by every record book I checked was the most wins in a single season that, you know, the girls program had ever had. Wow. But coming into the next year, we knew we were losing a 6-foot senior, and Rebecca Blazik. We were losing our awesome point guard, Morgan Robinson, and we had some other players, Lauren Hingy, that were really good for our team. So coming into the next year, I realized the group that I was having was a group that a year prior to that, when they lost Morgan due to injury, that team was at about 14-1, and then they wound up going about 2-13 over the final stretch. So I knew we were replacing the star. I knew we had some girls who had some awesome experience, but I knew it was going to be a year where we had an opportunity or a moment that we were going to have to get ourselves ready. So it was gruesome. It was tough. It was, we really stretched those girls getting ready for that season. And what was really nice was they responded, and we started the season off really well that year. And going into that year, it was make the playoffs, try to be competitive in our division, and just, you know, every game we got, give it all we had. And the short of it is we had a really hot start. We started off 10 in, I want to say we started off 10-2, I think it was. Had some really big wins. We beat an Ocean City team that year, which again, you think South Jersey basketball, Ocean City is one of those teams and names of a really good program. There's another team. I can't, the name is escaping me right now. If it comes back to me, I'll make sure to give them Cinnamon.
Yes.
Cinnamon was having a really good season last year. We had a chance to grab a very close hard-fought victory there. So we found some quality wins and did some really good things early on. The back end of that season, we dealt with a few injuries, dealt with some girls missing time and out of the lineup. But we wound up making the playoffs. Ran into a buzzsaw of Atlantic City in the first round, and wound up 15-11, which by many accounts isn't a bad year. But coming off of 23 wins and dropping some close ones that we wish we could have got back, we kind of fell short of what we wanted to do in our expectations. And then coming into this year, we felt as though we had a really nice opportunity because our freshmen from our first year are now our juniors. Some of those girls were really instrumental in some of our games last year. The seniors who are playing are girls who have been around for 3 years, so being varsity players, they were used to what we were doing. So for all of the craziness and all of the differences and the variables of making this year happen, which shout out to all of the administrators, all of the parents, all of the families, all of the coaches and teams who have done the things that we needed to do to have this year go off. Kudos, great job all around. But I felt really positive that for so many things to be different, we had a group of girls that would be able to come into this situation and have success. And feel extremely fortunate that we've been able to stay relatively healthy. We haven't had many issues, varsity level in terms of, the pandemic or the virus. And we've been able to play some good basketball and win some big games. And hopefully we're not done yet. But it was really nice Friday night to wrap up, sole possession of the Tri-County Royal Division crown. Excellent job, girls. And we're looking forward to our Tri-County tournament coming up this week.
So, Coach, if you don't mind, I want to backtrack a little bit for this season. So can you, first of all, tell our viewers who's in your, pod for that Royal so we have a better sense of the teams that you're dealing with?
Yes. So Tri-County has 4 divisions, about 21, 22 teams. And what we did as a tournament this year was take the top teams, the division winners, and then the other top teams from each of the divisions and put them in pods of 7. So we're in the top pod of 7 with the other division winners and then those teams who've had the best records. And you have Gloucester Catholic at number 1, us at number 2. I believe Woodstown's number 3, Clearview, Glassboro, Timber Creek, and Highland are the 7 teams. So we'll have a chance to, get to say who was the best team in Tri-County based off of this tournament this year. And shout out to Tri-County for putting this together. Hopefully it's something that we can continue, in the future. We have a week of basketball, and I think, this gives us the model, and hopefully it's something that the coaches and the fans and the kids all enjoy. And this is something that we can start to do every year going right before our state championship. I think it's an awesome deal.
Yeah, out of all the things that have happened, during the pandemic, these are some of the positives is, thinking outside the box, figuring out how you can get the best experience for the teams and the players, again, while still being safe, which is fantastic. But I want to backtrack again to that Friday night. So you got to lay the groundwork for us. So, what was at stake, and then how did you end up clinching the division?
Yes. So again, I always like to set the stage.
Yeah,
so
man.
Before we get to Friday,
Exactly.
We our only loss on the year so far this year has been to Clearview, which is one of our division teams. And coming into this last week, we had a 4-game slate. Monday we had a division game versus GCIT. Tuesday we had our first meeting with Timber Creek, who's new to the Tri-County, so it was our first time seeing them. Thursday we played Clearview, which was a chance to play the team that beat us. And then Friday, we played Timber Creek again.
Wow.
Timber Creek and Clearview had split during the year. Timber Creek beat Clearview once, Clearview beat them. So at this point, going into the week, we all have one loss in the division. So we have a really solid game versus GCIT on Monday. We travel to Timber Creek on Tuesday. Really good game versus those young ladies. We were able to be victorious, which was like the first step of giving them 2 losses and having us in Clearview tied up going into our Thursday showdown. The first time we played Clearview, we were without our best perimeter defender, Taylor Gary, who was out with an ankle injury. So really close game the first time, but we felt as though, missing somebody, that was going to be a key for this next matchup. And they had beat us the last 3 meetings. They beat us twice last year. They beat us earlier in the year. So our seniors in particular and our girls just overall, we're really looking forward to the moment to not only, avenge last year's loss, but that's our border rival. Nobody likes to lose to the rival, man, because, those girls see each other, families talking, social media. So we went into that game with a lot of motivation, and things hadn't been going our way. And our girls came to play, and we had a really awesome performance to beat Clearview, which set us up going into Timber Creek on Friday night with the opportunity to, one, knowing that we guaranteed to share the division crown. But, the message to our girls was, legacy in a moment. We have a moment to be either good or great here. I know it's been 4 games in 5 nights. I know this is the same team we played earlier in the week. I know they're a really good ball club. But this is a moment to define whether we want to be atop of our, division by ourselves or if we want to share it. And I will say those girls came out and they gave everything they had to try to get that game from us. And our girls, weary-legged and all, did everything that you would hope for and expect of a champion. And we found a way to win. We were down 1 going into the to the 4th. We made a good run coming out of the 4th quarter and was able to close the game. And it was one of those games that wasn't pretty from the skill department, but in terms of the character and the commitment of what it takes to be a champion, our girls showed we have that makeup. So I was super proud of them and super proud of what we've accomplished up until this point in the year.
Well, knowing that I was going to interview today, one of your moms, Sylvia, I'm going to shout her out today too, because, I tell you, she has nothing but great things to say about you.
Yes.
The one thing that she wanted me to see was her celebrating in a video. And said, I want you to check out the video on Twitter. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And all I see is everybody go like this. And to me, that's what sports is about, is to get to that moment where those kids can feel a sense of accomplishment and achievement. Just that's a moment that they're going to remember forever. They're going to remember that moment, and their hard work played into that. So that's why I just love, these kinds of things, like you said, you're all about the competition, and this is really what it's all about. It's about giving these kids a life lesson and letting them experience it. You know what I mean? The true high school experience. But man, just seeing you guys jumping around, I got excited. You know what I mean? It was making me excited just to interview. You know what I mean?
Listen, that's Coach Steele had a quote from Coach Bruce Arians on her Twitter earlier today. I believe it was. It was yesterday, and it said, "Coach them tough and hug them after." And that resonates with me because I realize how tough it is to win. I realize how life is going to give you some tough times and adversity. So I try to prepare them for those moments. And then when we have successes, whether it's a victory or it's a success in progression, I try to make sure I let them know how much I love to enjoy those moments with them, and how I'm not how I'm not above, being a part of the fray. I don't mind getting in the mix to celebrate with you because we're all in this together, and I want them to feel that. I want them to know that Coach loves them, has their back, and we go and prepare and do what it takes to be successful. And then when we go and celebrate and have a good time together. Absolutely.
That's great. That's just totally fantastic. So when does this the tournament start up for you?
Yeah, so the tournament is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week. We open up with Highland, and then the winner of our game is on the side of Woodstown and Timber Creek. So the winners will play the winners, the losers will play the losers on Wednesday. And on the other side, Gloucester Catholic has a first round bye. They'll play the winner of Clearview and Glassboro. And then then the championship will be Friday. And then somehow everybody will make sure they get 3 games in throughout the week to close the season out.
Yeah. So if you're listening, so basically 7 teams qualify, but you really need, they have to be multiples of, it's either 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. That's how you get your bracket. So when March Madness comes up, you have a better idea. So if you have 7 teams, what you do is you go to the next number, which is 8. 8 minus 7, 1 bye. All right. So then you take that 1 bye. They're in the next game. You take all the other teams, you match them up, and then the winners just play out the brackets, and then you're just going to go out from there to get a final game.
There you go.
And that's the way you play it out. I mean, to me, that's a fun way. And the nice thing about it too is even if there's a team that doesn't qualify, they still get games.
Yes.
Exactly. So this is perfect for if you can follow this model next year. Maybe other conferences will follow it because you're still going to get your games towards the end of the year. The games are actually more meaningful because it's past, when you get to the time where you already qualify for playoffs and your seeding's already kind of set, it's kind of like dead man's land, right?
Exactly.
Excuse me. And I think it gives you a little bit more purpose. And I think it's going to better prepare your team for the playoffs because you're playing with more intensity rather than just kind of like, biding your time till you get to the playoff. Most people are trying not to get hurt at that point. Most people are maybe trying different things or playing different players just to give people rest and break, which is totally up to them. But if you have games with meaning, I think it's going to better prepare your kids, your team to be successful on the state level if you qualify for that.
Exactly. I think it's definitely a big time motivator for the girls to be playing in a tournament for, a tri-county championship. I know that Cal, they have a tournament right before the playoffs in their league. I'm not sure the parameters of it, but I am familiar that they do have one over there. And this is a week and it's 3 games. So, I really hope, anybody listening, whether it's, other coaches or the, tri-county, officials or administrators, that, this is something that, we can really take a serious look at after it being successful this year. I'm speaking that into existence. This is going to be successful. That this is just the first year of the tri-county tournament. A lot of the schools do it in terms of the college level. ACC tournament at the end of the year is always one of the biggest games, seeing that Duke, North Carolina for the 3rd time, or just those matchups of teams who know each other, but playing for something and it being on the line. So hopefully it's something that we can continue.
So it just got me thinking, because this is something I talk about at the end, but if anybody's listening, one of the best ways to build up excitement is to have this kind of competition. So it's like it's the pre-tournament to the tournament, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, obviously you don't have to win to qualify for the state playoffs, but I mean, it's going to be something where more people are going to pay attention to the game because it's more meaningful. And I think it's a way to draw in fans. And I think it's a way to get more hype about the side of the girls basketball, because right now, like we talked about, they just don't have these conference championships or even county championships that, they have in, maybe North Jersey, Central Jersey. And maybe it's something that we really need to look at, and they need to include more. I think that's just the way, we include these in the games, you make it part of, the season, you add at the end. And then it gives those people too who don't make the state playoffs, it gives them a way to end their season, but give them the taste of what it's like. Because unfortunately, if you're not qualifying for your state tournament, right, it's the best 16 in the region. If you happen to be, like we talked about this before the podcast, there was a team last year that was in Group 4 that didn't qualify for the playoffs because they had better PowerPoints. But I believe that their record was not a 500 record. And there was another team that had a 500 record, and it basically bumped them out. So, like, there's teams that are on the bubble that would love to have that experience, But now, if we could do a tournament on the county level or the conference level, now you have them, and it's going to be able to build up the momentum, but also get people excited and give the kids prepare them, give them make them want to train hard to get there. So I don't know. I got it. I'm on you with that.
And you can never leave out once we get back to normal. Great revenue for the schools. To bringing folks together that may or may not play each other. Always need those revenue builders for the program. I know concessions is always good.
Are you sure you're not in marketing or what? You know what I mean? Like, you're thinking on a high level. I mean, to me, you got it, man. You just anything that brings people to school. All right. If you're listening to this podcast, there's so many negative things going on in our world. The best thing that we could do is to give the kids a reason to want to be in school.
Absolutely.
To be a part of of an experience, to cheer on their friends, even just to hang out. This is better than them hanging at the mall getting in trouble. This is better than them getting on Snapchat or whatever. You know what I mean? Get them in the stands, get them together. You can watch them and monitor them, and they can have fun, and it's going to be something that's good for our youth. We need something to give them, to do something with their time in a positive way. I mean, you've worked in 2 programs, right? A drug and alcohol rehabilitation, and also you worked at Ranch Hope. You know what I mean? We need things for people to give them motivation. We need something to keep them busy in a positive way. So I love your ideas, man. And also, man, you get some good food at the concession stand.
There you go.
So there's a tournament, or I guess a league. It's called No Boys Allowed. Are you familiar with them? They're in North Jersey.
I've not heard of that. No.
So we're gonna hook up. So basically, it's in Elizabeth. But I'll tell you what, if you go on their Twitter feed, like, man, they got some like really good food. I'm talking like they're making jerk chicken.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
They were making jerk chicken, mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Food. I'm like, I don't even know if I would go for basketball. And then I would give me something to do as I was eating. But
yeah,
if we could have something like that, oh man, and all the teams would benefit, all the schools would benefit. You know what I mean? It would raise the level, and it would get people excited, and it would be an easy way to grow the game. So NJSIA, Tri-County, Olympic County, Cal, you got to listen. We need this. All right, you need to make it work. And like you said, if you just do it in teams of like 8, then you only play 3 games.
1 week. One week before the playoffs. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We got the template. We got the format. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I like it, man. So, thinking about your team and this year, one question that I always ask is, when you sit down with your team and your coaches and you say, look, we have to do X, Y, Z. It's like I always remember watching Teddy Atlas on boxing on ESPN, and he always talk about the keys to the fight. And he would always talk about the things that one team had to do and the thing the other team had to do. So what are the keys to the game for Kingsway? So when you lay your team out and say, hey, we got to do this in order to win.
Absolutely. I think when you hear this, and it's almost something that you sometimes get played out, but I think it's definitely true. Defense wins championships. And the first thing foremost is being sound defensively, making teams have to work to get a shot, hopefully force them to take a shot that they don't want to take, and being really good on the defensive end. After that, it's composure on our part. We have a group of girls where from 1 to 9, any given night or at any given moment, any of those girls are going to make a play or do something huge to contribute to the game and contribute to the win, to where there's no pressure on any one girl to be our savior. We just got to be composed and play the kind of basketball that they've been coached to play, and that their abilities say that they can play. So good defense, composure, and then just having confidence in the things that you can do, and doing those things. And when those things may or may not happen the way you want them to, going to your next thing, or never losing faith in yourself or your team. So those are some of the things that we preach to the girls. Is one, on the defensive end, if you could get the other team frustrated and get them taking bad shots, then we're starting to be successful. If we can keep our composure, stay positive, move the ball when we want to move it in transition, slow it down. And this year we've really done some great things and made some progress in our half court game. But just playing with that composure and moving until we find a good one is key. And then that belief, that faith, believing that no matter what the situation is, no matter what's happened so far, that if we have time on the clock, and if we got, an opportunity to play ball, that we're going to do so. And we may have missed 10, but we're going to make the next one. And if, we need to make 5 more, then we're going to get those stops and get 5 more makes. So those are the things that we really preach. Just the strength in numbers and the ability to be deeper and depend on, and no one have to carry the load, but all carrying it together are the things that, we talk about, and the things that the girls have bought into. Our leading scorer Friday night in the game was our sixth girl off the bench. And we needed all of that. We've had our leading or number 2 scorer be our top rebounder in different games where her scoring wasn't on, and we've needed all of those rebounds. The girls have really bought into the idea and the mantra of, the sum of us being greater than any one of us. And it's a beautiful thing to see as a coach. It's a great thing when you get a team of girls who believe and feel that way, because it's hard to beat a team, especially where you never know where it's coming from. And we're looking forward to seeing how far we can take that, this next week.
That's fantastic. So I have to ask you, how are you handling the games? Are you is the school live streaming the games?
Yes, we do. We have a KDTV, which is part of the YouTube network. That's where we do our games at. Yes, and we've been fortunate enough over the last week, maybe week and a half, we got the approval and have been able to have parents come in, for some of the games, which has been, awesome. Just, taking a step and having some progress in this fight against, COVID and the pandemic of, returning back to, things that, we all enjoy. And I know the kids enjoy having their loved ones in the stands. It adds a different dynamic, but ultimately sharing these experiences with those who, mean the most to you, make them that much better.
Yeah, I have to say, from a parent's perspective, there's nothing replaces being in the stands to watch your kids. And I know they can do it without us, but I feel like, to me, I want my kids to know that we support them in all that they do, whether
Yes.
it's my own daughter or the girls on the team, which we look at as our kids. Like, it makes it more meaningful. Like
Yes.
when there's people that you care about that are in the stands, that are cheering you on, and they're there to celebrate with you when you win, and they're there to console you when you lose, but they're a part of it. And I think that was one thing that was missing in the games. And I think a lot of kids who are playing, especially the seniors, that probably had to weigh heavily in their mind. Like, is my parents, or my grandparents, are they ever going to have a chance to see me, on the court for my last game? Because, I mean, let's face it, we talked about it before. Some kids might go D1, D2, D3, NAIA. Some kids might say, I want to just focus on education. They might not ever play again.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we need to have a way for these kids to be able to enjoy this high school experience. We need to make it special for them. We need to make it memorable for them. We need to make it so they don't want to come back and support too, because that's the only way. Because you figure, if they're going to have kids, I mean, their kids are going to be playing basketball eventually, and then they're going to be, filling the programs up.
There you go. And we are social and community beings. So again, having that physical presence to be able to look up and see, people you care about, celebrating, when you have success, or maybe you missed a couple, and you look up and you see somebody still giving you the thumbs up, that, quiets that internal storm of doubt, and it gives you just that confidence, or that, that perseverance to be able to push through that, what I mean? You got people that believe in you, that care about you, that know that, the next, you might have missed one, but the next play can be your play nonetheless. So it's, again, applaud our administration, applaud the families, applaud everyone who's, doing their part in this fight to, allow us to do things to make progress, not only in this game, but in our schools and in our towns and in society, to get back to, a place where we can live the way that we once did.
Exactly. So we're getting to the end. So let's try to throw around some ideas on, I'd like to get your take. South Jersey girls basketball, like I said, some people don't even know where Kingsway is, and it's not a knock on you guys. It's just that, in the state, they think that, anything that's below Trenton doesn't even exist in some parts. So they don't even
Absolutely.
and I mean, it's really funny because you have to say that you're from Cherry Hill, or else nobody knows where in South Jersey you are. And Cherry Hill could be far from you.
Exactly.
So what can we do to raise awareness about, South Jersey basketball? And then what can we do to grow the sport and, get more people excited about it?
Yeah. So, and this is coming from the football side of things, having coached boys basketball. And even if you just look at what goes on in the professional level, and what happens, if you look at what happens in the world, I think women have throughout, and I'm a history teacher, so sorry for getting all historical for anybody watching. But historically, women have always had a fight, to put themselves and elevate themselves to the point of their contributions and what they do and their highlights and their achievements, getting them seen, noticed, and getting the just due that they deserve. One, none of us will be here without women. Two, society and civilization wouldn't be what it is without women. The game of basketball, having girls basketball, period, point blank, makes the game better. So doing things to promote and put that out there, whether it be advertising, things like this podcast, things like a tournament that are going to put good games and good teams, on each other and show that the women care to compete. They want to compete. They want to win championships, and then just gaining the coverage and working together to promote when we have really good players are all big things. And I think that, they're all things that can be done. One of the things that from a game standpoint, I think something like, a shot clock, which is something that's been thrown around many times, recently seen that in notes or just across social media, things that are going to speed the game up. Because if you look at sports and you look at anything, people like action, people like excitement, people like fast pace. The NFL's done things to improve scoring. The NBA does things to make sure that, defense isn't as smothering as, the bad boy Pistons back in the day. So people, can, get 125 instead go for 50 or 60. Like, there are things that people want to see. And when you make sure that your rules and the power or the governance around the game promote that, whether it be having a tournament to play the big game and then having a shot clock to make sure that game is being played, fast pace, high speed, and the girls are getting up and down, which is, a lot more enjoyable than a defensive slugfest or a zone pass the ball around the perimeter. Like, again, I want to win, but, in terms of marketing the game, you have to do things that are going to get people's attention. And those are things that come to mind. I will say, the coaches I've encountered and come in contact with, through my early part have all been awesome and all been supportive. There are some great tournaments, the South Jersey Invitational Tournament, even though we haven't been a part of it, it's one of those things that I know and I'm looking forward to getting my girls a part of. They have a 3-point contest. They have a foul shooting contest. Those are things that, again, like I said, I haven't been a part of it, but I know those things, and those things sound exciting. I want to get my girls, and I look forward to getting my girls involved in the future. Cross divisional or cross conference games, even a cross conference tournament. 1 year it might be the Trico versus the Burlington or the Olympic. Another year might be the Cal versus Tom's River North and them. I forget their league. Apologies to the conference there.
The Shore.
The Shore. There you go. The Shore. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a tournament that did that last year. I remember, I feel like Cherokee and Lenape and them played a couple games. Yeah. Those things that are going to get people traveling, get families traveling, get media people traveling. that cover a certain group of teams, but then they get the chance to see, you know, some other teams and see some other girls that they've only heard about, or things that grow the game, because now you're making it personal. Now you're making it, you know, now you're able to put tangible things behind some of those press clippings or those articles, because you've seen for yourself, and those girls have gotten a chance to play each other besides the state tournament. I think it's something that the girls enjoy. I think it's something that I know our girls, you know, when we play certain teams, they looking at this girl and that girl and wanting to see how good she really is and looking forward to the matchup. And it grows the game. And it grows the game.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully I hit a couple things in there that made sense.
Yeah, no, I love your ideas. I think it's great, you know. Definitely, I love the idea of like a cross, you know, conference tournament. You know, even if you just did a one-day tournament and you had, you know, teams from Tri-County play against teams from Olympic or Colonial or something like that. You know, and just to get teams that don't normally play against each other to play, especially too, because once you get to a certain point where you have group 1 schools that never will play group 2, 3, or 4, maybe you can do you know, 1s and 2s together, 3s and 4s together. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways you can spin it, because they'll never match up against each other in a state tournament, and depending on what conferences, they might not even play, period. So I think it's just a way to introduce people to other teams, other coaches, and you know, it gives them an opportunity for exposure too, because you know they got to play against better talent in order to, you know, to help their team grow and to, you know, figure out what they got. So I love your ideas. Those are just all fantastic, man. So how much of the marketing do you still do now? Are you still into that or no?
Oh man, no, I don't do much marketing now, man. But I will say, one of the biggest things I try to do is, you know, whenever I have an opportunity to talk about our program, talk about our girls, you know, highlight, you know, the accomplishments that they've had. I look to do those things because we can't do it enough. And the amount that these young ladies put on themselves in terms of being awesome students, being awesome athletes, being awesome people, you know, they should be celebrated. And I want our girls to be celebrated, to know that we appreciate them, the hard work that they do, that we recognize them, that they are good enough, and that what they are doing is just as good as what the boys are doing, or what any other sport are doing, and that, you know, that they got it too, you know. So it's an opportunity to talk about our program and talk about our school. You know, we can't promote our education or our athletics, you know, enough in today's world. So I'm appreciative and humbled by the opportunity, and hopefully I did us justice this evening.
No, this is fantastic. I know that you know, I was looking forward to it, and I'll tell you what, man, I just love your stories, and I wish you good luck.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully, you know, keep in touch and let me know how things are going. But I'd love to see your team, you know, do well. I know I'm interviewing some of the other coaches in your Tri-County, so I don't want to say that I'm being biased, but because you're here first, I wish you good luck. How about that?
Hey, I appreciate that, and wish them good luck too. Except for when they play us. No, I'm just messing. But no, listen, we got an awesome group down here in the Tri-County, and I've had an opportunity to have some awesome games against some of the other coaches in other conferences. And I think, you know, women's and ladies high school basketball is going to continue to grow, as long as the wonderful people that we have doing things in the best interest and putting these young ladies first continue to do so. And I'm just happy that I've been afforded the privilege to be a part of this for the moment. So thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for everybody that's watching. Again, thank you to my girls specifically for the growth and the hard work that we put in. We ain't finished. We aren't finished yet. And looking forward to finishing out this week. And best of luck to everyone as well as we wrap up this year. And again, great job with everyone for doing the things that we needed to do to make this happen. We just made a difference in the lives of so many people by giving them an outlet and a sense of normalcy and some joy over the last 2 months that we've had.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you, Coach, and I'll be talking to you soon. Okay.
Awesome.
Take care.
All right now.